Hey, welcome back to the channel. All right, it's June 2023. Very excited to bring you. We're going to be doing all the top 10s of each classes, plus the top 10 champions of 2022. And then we'll be finishing this with the top 20 champions overall in the game. We did this in December. And when you're asking, like, I polled my server. Everyone gets to vote. Certain people with roles and titles of honor, most active members, those sorts of things, get to nominate champions. And then we all vote. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to quickly give you the rundown from where we stood in 2022. I think it's fun to see the progress, the change, the evolution of the game, and our feelings on these champions. And then we're going to jump right into this. I'll give you my servers rankings and then also give you my analysis too. But in 2022, at the end of the year, my server had number 1 Apocalypse, number 2 Kitty Pryde, number 3 Archangel, 4 Magneto, 5 Omega Red, 6 Bishop, 7 Professor X, 8 Domino, tied with White Magneto, and then 10 of Strife. And then myself, I had number 1 Kitty Pryde, 2 Apocalypse, 3 Omega Red, 4 Archangel, 5 Magneto, 6 Professor X, 7 Bishop, 8 White Magneto, 9 Havoc, and 10 Domino. Smiling because I know some things are coming up. Kind of funny to see where the evolutions and things like that are. And there were some big tiers in there too. But we're not as concerned about last year. We're concerned about getting this information out for this year and having a lot of fun with it. You also know I do the monthly tier list. I'm not going to be doing this month because we're doing this. And I'm going to be a little bit more personal in my own rankings. I'm not, running it by the Illuminati and getting their thoughts and all that stuff too. So it might vary a little bit from my own list. And then if you're interested in another take from another Illuminati member, Campo is doing top 10 as well. A link to his channel is in the description. They're really, really fun. I fully enjoyed listening to science. All right, this is the first one we're doing. We're doing Mutant because I consider them to be kind of the weakest class. I totaled it up in my own way. And here we are. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what my servers list is, and then I'm gonna give you my own. Their honorable mentions were Danny Moonstone. They feel very strongly about her. I will talk about her a little bit. She is in my honorable mention too. Domino and Strife, Colossus, Toad, and then Captain Britain. We have a really big Captain Britain fan there in Grass. I see you tried to get her in the top 10, but I caught on to what you were doing, my friend. And then honorable mention for me is Danny Moonstar. I do think she's going to be really good. I want to see her in the game first. I put up the video with my thoughts on her. My concern was potentially a little bit of rigidity out of her, meaning if you can't do her loop, you kind of feel like you have to reset the whole thing. She's obviously powerful. I'm very interested in BGs and Battlegrounds. A lot of the tougher skilled defenders that that you're wanting to fight these days, Korgs and Atumas, they have that damage back mechanic. She doesn't really get around that at all. She does have really high, sky high damage though off that SP2, and then some nice utility with the passive slow there. Sorry, I couldn't think of what it was. And that's going to be really nice. I just want to see her in the game. I'm not ready to put her in the top 10 yet. We haven't even been able to do more than just kind of test her on the CCP server and that sort of thing. So I want to see her in the game. I do recognize though, I think she's going to be very powerful and probably part of these conversations for a while now. My other honorable mentions were White Magneto, Havoc, and then Iceman. Iceman, again, could be powerful in Battlegrounds with that damage right initially, and then he's got all those immunities and then handles evade so incredibly well. Really nice buff, solid. Wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, but that doesn't mean it's bad, right? Very good and well deserving of being in the honorable mention. Okay, so I said I was going to tell you what my servers were, and then we'll talk it through as far as mine. That was one requested change from last year. So the number 10 champion for my server coming in at a lower vote there was a clear difference there. It was Havoc. I think Havoc makes a lot of sense, as you know, was in my honorable mention. My number 10 champion, oh, it was on the wrong screen. My number 10 champion in the mutant class is Sunspot. You're gonna hear me talking a lot for the next couple of months about 7 stars, 6 stars, how I feel like they relate to each other and that sort of thing. Sunspot being as available as a 7-star, I don't think that's why we're considering him so good. I think what it's doing is highlighting and showing for us how powerful he is. Perfect block. And the way he works with the ability to kind of gain the power there off of his own incinerates. And then depends on what mode you're using him for. Like, yeah, he actually, I used him a lot in 7.2. He can apply so many debuffs and gets that SP2, just do significant damage. And then on your way to that SP2, if that's the way it's needing to go, if it's these larger health pools, he is doing some really nice damage along the way. He obviously has some shortcomings, but I think he's very deserving of that top 10 spot. The perfect block, the whole thing. I really do like Sunspot. I feel very comfortable with him being in that top 10 or in that conversation for the top 10. And then the number 9 champion for my servers list was White Magneto. Very powerful champion. He did come up in my honorable mention, so I'm not going to talk about him at length, but of course the pre-fights, and then he can do his own damage. Manuel and For Loki uses him a lot, does really nice things with him. I do recognize he's a powerful champion. He's just not in my top 10, but I think for general account building, he makes a lot of sense. We've talked about that at length on this server, so we'll go ahead and get to my number 9, which is none other than Colossus. I know he is a fan favorite. He's a community favorite. There's going to be people who really feel justified in saying that he's the number 1 champion in this. And I just don't agree with that. I can't tell you that you're objectively wrong or anything like that. I know so many people have used him to clear so much content in Act 6 and Act 7, even before it was nerfed. So I get that. No, you don't need to parry, and no, you don't need all of those synergy partners that really ramp him up, but they are very helpful. But I'm not going to hold that against him unless I'm trying to make a top 10 list, right? Think about this, this is the top 10. So you can be extremely powerful and still be the number 9 champion on my list. You do want him awakened, you want that higher sig. This is why I was trying to not have him be the mutant champion in the Titan pool. But you know, that's for fun and for enjoyment there. All of the immunities, extremely tanky. We saw him in war. He benefited from the attacker tactic too. So that really emphasized what he could do. He's a very good champion. I feel like the game is moving by him a little bit. Not in that he's no longer useful, just more a number 9, which is very good. Okay, my server's number 8 champion is actually a tie with the number 7. There's a little bit of a tier jump as far as the votes and their tabulation. Not massive, but you could tell that there was a little bit of a difference. Their number 8 champion was Professor X. X will be coming up on my list as well. My number 8 champion is none other than Namor. I feel like Namor is timeless. I've been tempted many times to get videos out, but as you know, I have a very busy job and family and things like that. So there's a lot of videos I want to make that I'm just like, I can't get to it right now. I do feel like Namor is timeless. We're seeing that come up again with Atuma and his damage back mechanic. Anytime there's something like that, right? The Terraxes, although now there's Carl for that. Namor is someone that you can often go to. Korg, we saw BMG use Namor in my own tournament today, the Battle World, and did it very well against an Atuma. So anytime there's anything like that, Namor's just a go-to. If you have him at that high sig 200, he's timeless. He's really timeless in that way. I think the only way that he maybe loses his standing, so to speak, and it is getting a bit more niche as this happens, is as more champions come along, Cuckoo can handle those fights, right? And we're going to see someone else that's a little higher up on this tier, quite a bit higher actually in his own class. And then, like I said, with Absorbing Man able to handle those Terraxes for us too, that minimizes what Namor can do, but it can also be done on nodes and things like that. So keep that in mind. I really do like Namor. I think he's becoming maybe a bit more niche than specialized as this goes on. But the cool thing is about him is he's very good outside of that niche too. You can still use him to do a tremendous amount of damage, right? Trigger the Imperious Rex, get to the SB3, can really get big there. So I do like Namor a lot. He's someone who I'll probably be looking to take to rank 4. In fact, I thought I had him at rank 4. I just didn't use him. But I'm realizing that when I was using him more frequently, it was at rank 3. So it was a while ago in the game, and that felt like a very high rank. I'll probably be taking my Namor to rank 4 in the not too distant future. I really like him, and I think this ranking for him at number 8 makes a lot of sense. Moving along to the number 7 champion in my server's rankings, we have Namor. So we just talked about Namor. I'm not going to go into that more, but that was actually a direct tie with Professor X there. And then there's going to be a large jump in my server's rankings for the next one. For me, as we move to number 7, is actually Bishop. And I don't have this being a huge tier, a little bit, and you'll see in a little bit that might be due to my own personal preference for the number 6 champion. But I do think Bishop is probably more valuable to account, a better all-around champion, more of a defensive threat, handling more offensive things for you, and something that you're more likely to run into, which is these skill champions that are purifying your debuffs. He's not only making sure that doesn't happen, but he's letting it happen, but he's punishing them very, very badly for it. Really nice damage off the SB2, depending on where you have him in the SIG. There's a lot of different things you can do. There's like stun immunity, leaving targets incinerated. You can obviously read it there. Going unblockable, which is what we see often being problematic on the defensive side of things. So Bishop is a very, very good champion, and I think can get a lot done for you. I do think, like I said, though, for me, there's a little bit of a tier here. I think he was a little bit more valuable, let's say, than Namor and the other champions I had. I don't think he's quite as valuable as the next champion I'm about to list, but Bishop's good. He's great. I'm excited about pulling him potentially one day as a 7-star. Okay, not surprising. You know, Mutant, there hasn't been a lot of new additions, so I don't think it's surprising. We're not seeing a huge change here in the list. Look actually relatively similar, but this is a big jump. This was a large jump in my server's rankings from Namor to the number 6 champions, which is Bishop. We just talked about Bishop. Very, very good champion. Some strong synergies as well, too, but he on his own is very good. And now we're going to get to my number 6. And for me, like I said, there is a big jump here, and that is Professor X. He's like the forgotten mutant. And I do think some of it, yes, we now have the mutant poll. It's literally today as I'm filming this, and I'm getting the feedback on my own Twitter poll and the tweets I sent out is people are saying he's a little complex and he doesn't run well with recoil. And I'm not going to try to tell you that he does run with recoil. I'm not crazy. I also understand that he's complex, and some people in my own alliance are saying like they just don't like his play style. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to be able to convince you that you like his play style. But what I will say is that you don't always have to have the White Magneto pre-fight with you. Now, I can understand why people would say that. Maybe they want that for like your Korgs or things like that. But, and I actually will get this video out one day. He has another synergy that I think replaces that very, very well. It's not a 1-for-1, but the other champion you're bringing along is fantastic and gets a nice benefit from it as well. And then we're also used to seeing Professor X so often run with power back boost in Alliance War, right? It's very, very cool. In fact, Manuel, who I mentioned earlier with the White Magneto, often runs it with Professor X, and he takes out so many fights, and it's really cool to watch. But what I'm going to tell you is you don't have to have it. In fact, when I was taking my vacations recently, I took a break from high tier war, and I moved to another alliance, and they were fighting a respectable tier, and I used my rank 3 Professor X without power backs, and was destroying stuff and having a lot of fun with some tough defenders. Remember, he counters evade and miss as well, and then he ramps up. He is a fantastic champion. I wish he would have won the Titan vote, but it looks like he's not going to. When he comes as a 7-star, I'll be very excited to potentially pull him. And he's a champion that I probably will rank up to rank 4 at least, and potentially higher, depending on how our resources come our way. Professor X is like a forgotten champion, and I do feel like the game was moving by him a little bit, but now that we're getting more champions with these miss mechanics that we're seeing in tough spots that are tough defenders like Spot, having someone who can handle them as quickly and as easily and as efficiently as Professor X does is really cool. He's great, and like I said, he's a tier above for me, the other champions that we've mentioned. Okay, the server and myself both have the same number 5 champion. Not very surprised to see him this high up, and there's probably some people who are like, dude, how's he not the number 1 champion? He's so overpowered against metal, and you're right, he is. We are starting to see situations where tech champions come to the game where their ability actually can't be reduced by mutants. Hello, Magneto, that's exactly why this happened. But the fact of the matter is there's still so many metal champions in the game, and he's so incredibly powerful with them. He also has, there's more to it too, right? Like he can't be auto blocked, he doesn't miss, and these sorts of things. So there's a lot of utility wrapped up in one champion. His signature ability is actually not bad with its ability or with its cost to not allow you to take too much damage back and sorts of things. He truly is an yeah, he is. I think he's an overpowered champion. I think what's been cool is that it feels like the game has been moving in a direction where he is overpowered, it has not been asked of you much. I definitely can't have him at number 1 or something like that. It just in good confidence. And when you see him on my tier list, you're going to see him in kind of some different places too. But he is one of the most overpowered champions in some very, unique situations where it's a metal champion and it comes up, and it's just not coming up as much as it used to. But I can't deny he's one of the top 10 mutant champions in the game right now. As time goes on, maybe he falls out. But right now, he's my server's number 5 and mine. All right, the number 4 champion in my server's ranking is actually different than mine. We're just going to kind of have them flip-flop. So I'm going to talk about them together because the voting was actually pretty close on these 2 champions as well. And I even have a little trouble distinguishing who I really feel is better. But essentially, they are Archangel. My server has Archangel at number 3, Omega Red at number 4. I have Omega Red as number 3, and Archangel is number 4. And here's why is, and I'll just gonna go to Omega Red and kind of explain this a little bit, is, if they can be bled and they can be poisoned, Archangel is going to destroy them. They don't even always have to be able to be punished via stun. There's a lot of times you can bait the heavy, punish it with your own heavy. Archangel has a really nice heavy to get that mechanic going. The heal block, turning off ability accuracy. I mean, he is amazing. And, I think I could see people having a case for why he's number 1, because a lot of times the big negative on him or the knock on him is like, well, so there's this many poison immune champions, there's this many bleed immune champions. Well, that's true, but have you looked at how many aren't poison and or bleed immune? It's a lot. It's a significant margin. I haven't looked it up in a long time since I was doing a lot of Archangel videos. But if you really dive into it, you'll see it's a significant portion of the contest, especially as we've gotten more and more immunities coming out with more champions. It means they're not bleed or poison immune. And then he's turning off the ability accuracy, getting the heal block up. He is phenomenal. But Omega Red, I feel like unless they're just, a robot, they're just not slowing him down. We're seeing him used even in Battlegrounds, taking out defenders like Rintra and things like that. He's not even running the recoil tree. He is phenomenal. The biggest knock you can have on him is that he really wants that really high sig, which is why I didn't want to see him early as a 7-star. I think you're really in nice shape ranking up your 6-star, but I get it. The people want him 7-star. It's like the earlier it comes, the more quickly I can pull him, the more quickly I can awaken him and get that signature ability going. He also is very suited for the strongest skill a defender we've seen in the game. Right now coming out is a Tuma, that damage back mechanic. Omega Red can get around that. Gonna have a little trouble because you can't parry, but I'm sure you're gonna figure out how to heavy counter his heavy, similar to how you would do it with Archangel. Omega Red is phenomenal, and I think really, I don't think I could put Archangel as the -- 1 mutant champion in the game, but I do think I could see Omega Red being that. I think he's the first one who has a really strong argument for being the #1. And then we move on to the #2 champion. My server and I just disagree, and that's fine. There's a lot of very smart players on my Discord server, but for them, their #2 mutant champion was Kitty Pryde, and their #1 was Apocalypse. Kitty Pryde and Apoc were actually very close. It wasn't that far off. And I feel similarly, but I just feel like Kitty is the dominant champion. And there's a couple of things for me. I'm not going to try to tell you that Apoc is falling off. I don't think he is at all. But I feel like as the game grows, his massive amount of utility, let's call it, I feel like is being less and less asked for to be in one package. It feels like the game's more and more moving towards these specialties, right? We've talked about that a lot on this channel. Now, the cool thing about Apocalypse is he's so good in the variety of the utility that he has, right? Turning off evade and his various immunities. The red damage off of his special is being built up. He can also make horsemen, but that's not exactly what we're talking about right now. He works well with the damage back boosts and things like that, the damage increasing off of his special. So I'm not saying he's fallen off a cliff at all. In fact, I have him as my #2 rated champion on the whole thing. So keep that in mind. And he'll probably show up in the top 20 overall as well for me. But what I am saying is I feel like the game is more frequently right now asking us to do these more specialized things. And as more mutant champions come out, remember, we just got Danny Moonstar. She was the first one, I think, in over a year. Eventually more mutants, I think, have to come. And as that happens, I think they're going to swallow up his part of, let's say, the Venn diagram or something like that. I'm not predicting he's falling off a cliff. If he were to come as a 7-star, I'd be very excited about it. I'm excited to rank my 6-star to a rank 4 at some time in the near future. But I'm not in a hurry to do it. If I already had him ranked up, I would, but I don't. Or I'd be happy about it if I already did. Now, my #1 is Kitty Pryde. To me, there's just no doubt about this. Like, if you can play her well, she's #1, and that's without her synergies. She feels like she was built with so many counters to the counter in her. She's even a not terrible defender unless there's like a Nimrod or an Omega Sentinel on the other side there, right? But her miss mechanic, like, she actually punishes champions who punish her miss. She punishes them. There's a reason why there's the Kitty Pryde cheese that comes out. Remember with Eternity of Pain, there was ever like 2 or 3 fights, I think, that she could just absolutely cheese if you got them down right. And then on top of that, she's outrageously powerful herself. I love her. I can't believe I haven't taken mine to rank 5 yet. I just haven't had the ability to do it with a mutant, but I truly believe she would be the one. She's well suited for Korgs, Nick Furies, and Atumas, which are the 3 most common skill defenders we see in Battlegrounds and probably in War, and she happens to counter all of them. Could the game eventually pass her by? Maybe, but it's definitely not happening right now. It is not happening yet, and even Nimrod himself and Omega Sentinel can't do that. Those are just 2 champions. And then, if you do bring along Kitty Pryde, synergy partners in Ghost and Tigra, phenomenal champions too, who we will see in the top 10 on their classes as well, she gets even more powerful, can just go unblockable for a whole fight. You just phase back and forth. You take literally no damage. You can get to your SP3. They can throw their SP. It does not matter. You're unblockable. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. She has a core mechanic that I really love. You know, I've talked about this. I'll talk to you more about it with Kate Bishop. But Kitty Pryde, with her SP1, she can throw a debuff or she can throw a passive. It's up to you. Some scenarios are going to be better than others. Then she ramps up to her SP2. Nice big SP2. I love, love, love Kitty Pryde. This has been really cool exercise for me because it's reminded me how much I used to love playing her. I pulled her early, played her so, so much. And that's Mutant. That's the Mutant class. Not a lot of change over. We start with them because, for in my opinion, based on the top 2 tiers in my normal monthly tier list, they are the weakest class. So we started with them, and it's just going to get more and more complex, more and more difficult, probably longer and longer honorable mentions list. Let me know what you think we got right. Let me know what you think you got wrong. Yes, we are getting information out. I am trying to be helpful with this like we are with the tier list, but there is a lot of this too that's like personal preference. What do we enjoy? Let's have that fun, sports debate. What's the best video game ever? What's the best point guard ever? What's the best movie? All that. That's what this is. I hope you're having a blast. Keep an eye out for the rest of them, and make sure you check out Campo's versions of all of these. He's already started science. Link to his channel is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.